Good morning and welcome to the Crackpot Breakfast. I'm Canadian artist Ryan Lowrie, and we're eating breakfast upstairs today. It's a grey, windy day in Ontario. What are we eating for breakfast today? We're eating meat sauce sloppy joes. Meat sauce sloppy joes. The other night, I made spaghetti with a meat sauce. And I always ask my wife, do you want the sauce on it? Or do you want it all mixed up? She wanted it all mixed up, so I mixed up the spaghetti into the meat sauce. And then this morning when I looked in the fridge, all the noodles were eaten, but she left the meat sauce, which is usually the opposite. Normally she eats all the meat sauce, and I'm left with noodles. But today was a twist. My cat's all weirded out. Last night the Oscars happened, but my wife wanted to boycott the Oscars because of the lack of versatility. My wife wanted to boycott the Oscars because it was all honkies, it was all Caucasians getting nominated for the awards. We said, let's skip it. The Oscars haven't been great the last couple of years anyways. Like, people tell me they're great, but kind of boring. Like, right off the bat, you have the best, you got the opening monologue. Maybe they do like a dance number or something. Then you get best supporting actor. Then it's 2 hours of best sound editing, best sound other award, best editing, and people go, well, that's the real filmmaking. Yeah, but they do a tech film awards like a week before. They already do a ceremony for all the technical stuff. What do you want to see? What awards do you care about? You care about best picture, best actor, best actress, but it's a short list. The show doesn't need to be 3 hours or whatever. You could boil that down into a solid hour of TV. And then you have to watch the musical performances, which are always lame. Even if it's a musician I like. I've never seen somebody sing a song on the Oscars and go, wow. It's never very good. And then they do the 3-minute video of, here's everybody who died this year. Most of them hadn't worked in the last long time. I'm washing down my meat sandwich with a mochaccino protein beverage. So, a lot of protein today. I feel so strong. Last night I went to see the movie The Witch. Written and directed by a man named Robert Eggers, who I'd never heard of. But it's just a neat trailer. I usually go see movies because of the trailers. I don't really care what critics say. Like, I don't think I've ever bought a ticket because Rotten Tomatoes gave it 80%. Not to say I don't go to Rotten Tomatoes, but I usually go after the fact. Usually after I see a movie, then I'm interested to, well, this is what I thought of it, what did other people think of it? And last night watching The Witch, I did something I haven't done in forever. During a couple of the creepier parts of the movie, I shrunk down in my chair and I covered my ears. I can't remember the last time I did that watching a movie. I shriveled up like a little bitch. It was a great movie. It was about this family from England in the 1600s. And they're in New England, in America. And at the beginning, the father's getting in trouble by some kind of tribunal. They're telling him he's a bad Christian because he doesn't pray right. And he's like, no, you're a bad Christian because you're not devout enough. And they don't really explain what's going on. But they're like, well, if you keep this up, we're going to cast you out. And he's like, go ahead. It would be a pleasure, whatever. So he gets kicked out. And his family, they get a little cabin out in the forest, in the wilderness. And they try growing corn. But he's really not good at corn. So him and his son try hunting. And they're really not good at hunting. And there's this spooky old lady off in the distance, just watching them. Very creepy movie. And then you just sort of hang out with the family on their day-to-day basis, and the teenage daughter and the mother really don't get along. And there's this sense of unease and dread, and it was such an intense movie. God, I loved it. And some people left. Some people walked out during it. Not because it was so creepy. It was just they spoke in Old English, and I think that annoyed some people. And there's not a lot of action in the first, half of the movie. First half of the movie is really just, there's this family, they're going through hard times, and they don't really get along. And some teenage guys left, they're like, oh, whatever. And it's just not that kind of horror movie. And I blame movies like Insidious and the Paranormal Activity, all these haunted house movies that have been big the last few years. Because they're paint by numbers. They tell you when to be scared. They show you the monster. And The Witch just isn't that type of movie, I think anybody going into it expecting like big scares, like the Scream franchise or whatever. It's not an Elm Street type movie. It's very slow. It's a slow burn. It's a brooding film. It scared the hell out of me. I covered my ears. Like I totally regressed into like a 6-year-old. Just, I don't know if I want to see this. So yeah, anything else written and directed by Robert Eggers, I will definitely check out. A sense of panic that he causes in you. I don't suffer from panic attacks, but I'm affected by a lot of people who do suffer from panic attacks. My wife has a certain level of anxiety, and I've had some relatives and some good friends who have a fear of public speaking. I never had that. But my heart goes out to them. I feel bad for them. I don't really have a problem with anxiety because of my cynicism. Like some people with anxiety attacks and depression, they worry that horrible things might happen. Which isn't to say I don't think about horrible things. But for me, it's like this. If a horrible thought shows up in my head, what if this happens? What if you get fired? What if somebody gets killed in an accident? I look back on my life and I think of all the opportunities that I thought were coming my way think about all the things that I thought was going to go right and how wrong I was, how very wrong I was. But how pleasantly surprised I was by other things. Like back in my early 20s, there were certain things I thought would come together, projects, working with certain people. I would start projects, and there were many opportunities I thought were going to go well, and they didn't. But other things came along that I did instead and enjoyed thoroughly. So whenever the panic of a what if pops up in my head, I just go, remember all that shit you were wrong about? Odds are you're probably wrong about this. Hence no panic attack. I don't know if that technique will work for you, but it's worth a shot, and it beats panicking. I'm talking to some coworkers about the anxiety of first meeting people. And one guy said, when I first meet a woman, I think whether or not would we ever be romantically involved? I'm like, wow, it's super confident. Another coworker was like, when I first meet somebody, I wonder, like what do they do for a living, you know? It's a little more pedestrian. They said, Ryan, like when you first meet somebody, what do you think of? When I first meet anybody, online or in person, my first thought is usually, how would they kill me? Or how would they attempt to kill me? Like my wife, I'm pretty sure would poison me. Not that she's ever alluded to the fact of poisoning, but, you know, I'm a big guy. She knows when I eat. She knows what I eat. So taking me out with poisoning would be really easy. And her and I have talked about this. How we'd kill each other. And she said, well, I wouldn't poison you because that would be messy. I was like, how is that messy? She's like, well, you'd throw it up. I'm like, not necessarily. Not if it was like, you know, cyanide or something like that. If it was a poison that attacked, like, the nervous system, you know, that would just kill me, like, in my sleep or whatever. And some people you meet and they're more hands-on. You're like, oh, yeah, that guy would stab me. For sure. Usually if it's a big, gruff person, I think choking, they'd probably choke me. If a person's kind of mousy and reserved, I think sniper. You know, shoot me from a distance. But yeah, when I meet people, my first thought is usually, how would they try to kill me? I don't think like, hey, we might romantically hook up. No, I don't. I don't really have those thoughts. Never did. And it's not to say I never had sex. I just don't think of people that way. Like, you know, I was going to lunch the other while back, a couple of friends, and there's some, you know, young ladies by a bus stop. And then one buddy's like, oh man, they're so hot. And I said, they should have jackets. It's very windy out. They're gonna get a cold. He's like, you're like 80 years old. My God. But my thought wasn't, No, my thought was, those girls are gonna get a cold. And again, it's not to say I don't think romantically of other people. I do. I think that's natural. But my first thought of meeting somebody isn't, Ooh, their genitals would be fun. My first thought usually is, how would they kill me? And I think that's just a survival thing. Like, some people, when they first go into a new room or a new building, they look for exits in case there's a fire. And I think we all do that on some level. Not that we're going to start a fire, it's just, you just look around, like, where are the doors? Just in case I got to get out of here in a hurry. And I think meeting people and wondering how they would try to kill me is just an exacerbation. It's just an extended thought of, where are the fire exits? How would that person try to kill me? Which doesn't give me any anxiety at all, because I'm already thinking of counter moves. Most of which are just deflection. Like that. Being attacked. Just. It's from my judo days. I took 3 weeks of judo in grade 4. My dad thought it would give me discipline. But if you speak out of turn at judo, if you show disrespect, they make you do push-ups. So I did push-ups for 3 weeks. And one day my dad came early to pick me up. And he was like, how come everybody was on one side practicing judo and you were over in the corner doing push-ups? So I explained to him, well, if you're sarcastic or you show disrespect, they make you do push-ups. And he said, you can do push-ups at home. I don't need to pay somebody to make you do push-ups. Yeah, I learned to block. That's me blocking. Judo style. Well, my meat sauce sandwiches are done. And I don't have to be anywhere for another couple hours, so I'm going to go watch cartoons. I hope you have a wonderful Monday, and thank you for watching yet another episode of the Crackpot Breakfast. Cheers.